Welcome everybody to our first official White Pine Council Virtual Scouters Club. We thought it would be a good idea to host our first Virtual Scouters Club on a how to host a virtual section meeting. I want to introduce our panel tonight. From 36 Oshawa, we have Peter Moore. From 4.5 Bowmanville, we have Terry Strawn. From First Inniskillen, we have Deborah Soames. And I am Gwen Thornton. I am your Council Relationship Manager for White Pine Council. On the line, we also have Kate, our SRM for White Pine Council, and Jeff Sauvé, our Council Commissioner, is on the line as well. Just a couple rules of engagement for our session tonight. First of all, we've already done this. Please mute your mic and unmute only during question and answer time. Please turn your video off. Our presenters will have their video on as they're talking. You have an option of turning off incoming video on your more menu on your little taskbar on the screen. There's a little 3 dots on the bottom of the screen that you can click on, and you can turn off your video that's coming in. It actually helps you. It actually helps you go into getting a better reception with as much as the broadband can handle. Please ask any questions in the chat bar throughout the presentation, and we'll definitely address them in the discussion and question period. Kate will be moderating those questions. And then just to let everybody know that this session is being recorded and will be shared, we've created a YouTube channel that will be private to our White Pine Council members at this point in time, and we'll be posting and sharing the link from there. Our final and a very good point of our last topic is that please keep your questions to our topic of virtual section meetings only within this discussion. Our agenda for this evening, we're going to do some shared experiences from our panel. We're going to look at some safety and security considerations, and we're then going to finish off with a discussion and open floor. At this time, I'm going to pass the mic to Peter from 36 Oshawa.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Hi, I'm Peter Moore, and I'm from the 36th Oshawa Scout Group. We have 2 sections that we run, a colony and a pack. And coming out of the March break, we wanted to look for a way that we could get up and running fairly quickly. Our first meeting was on Tuesday with the colony. So we took advantage of Zoom conferencing software to run both of our weekly meetings for pack and for the colony. So Zoom does provide free accounts, the restriction being that the meetings are a maximum of 40 minutes. We found actually that time worked, given that in the online world, keeping the attention span of everyone together, especially in the colony, 40 minutes was about all we can handle, even though we meet for an hour in the gym. The hour contains, as you know, a lot of running around and getting some of that energy out, which they can't necessarily do online. So 40 minutes is ideal, and we haven't felt the need to go beyond that, but they do have paid accounts through Zoom where you can get unlimited, and I believe the subscriptions are $20 a month. For our software, it comes with the option from the start. We were using the option to have passwords and emails. We would send out emails to all our parents before the meeting that contained the password to allow only them to enter the meeting and no risk of outsiders joining, which I know is something that Zoom has had some issues with in the past month or so. Since then, they've actually made that the default standard. So any meeting that you have gets set up with a password sent to all participants, and also has the waiting room functionality where I, as the host of the meeting, can let anyone, I have to admit someone into our meeting. So if there's someone on there in the list of participants who I don't recognize, I can scope it out and see if that's someone I do know or refuse to admit them to the meeting. So there's some extra security layered on there. Their functionality is there for chat through text as well, so that we can have some fun with that, and we've done that in our meetings, as well as screen sharing for various things. The kids really appreciate the gallery view, where you can see all participants who have their video turned on at the same time. So you'll see that in the screen right now. This is what one of our first early meetings looked like with all the participants. And that really is one of the key benefits for the group. So when we were planning out what we were going to do and how are we going to deliver the content and what are these meetings going to look like, we really wanted to make sure they were youth led and take ideas from the kids. And the idea that resounded overwhelmingly was they just enjoy spending time seeing each other's faces and talking with them. So if you are going to do this and haven't done it yet, one of the key things is plan for time just for chat. And a moderated discussion with the leaders chipping in is really, really good for all of the kids. And it's actually turned out to be really good. It's many of our scouters, and myself included, have said this is the best 40 minutes we spend each week just having some fun and listening to what's going on. So do leave some of that time for the chat. Gwen, if you can go to the next slide, please. So one of the things that's neat about Zoom is you can choose background images. So it comes with a default background image, but you can also upload your own custom images in there. So one of the first meetings we did with the colony, we took them on a virtual world tour, starting with some local sites. So some of you may recognize Camp Samak in one of the photos there, the large cabin. A scout camp from up north was listed there. We have a trail. We took a trip to Paris with the kids. We flew through outer space. And the last one is from the Top Gun movie that's come out recently. So there's always, with so many people on Zoom these days, there are always new backgrounds being added. And the kids, we had a riot. We were laughing out loud, taking the kids all around the world. And since then, they've been encouraged to download their own backgrounds and put up backgrounds. So we had one kid on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise on this Tuesday for one of the meetings, and that was a bit of a kick. So you can have some fun if you poke around, no matter what the technology is, see what some of the different options are, because you never know how you can incorporate some of that into the fun of the meeting. And this was a really simple thing to do. Down in the video options, there's an option to choose virtual background. You can add an image and then just select it to be your background, and it worked out great. So that was some early fun as we were learning how to use this software. Next slide, please, Gwen. Last night we met and we had the idea to have a scavenger hunt, and I'll jump straight to the next slide too, Gwen. So we asked our colony to just go and find some things around their house. We gave the parents a heads up that this was coming and that they need a bit of room and some time to run around. And we literally had them go and find some of their favorite things in certain categories around the house. And this was designed as a fun activity, and they did definitely have fun. What I didn't expect was that they had a lot to say, and they really, really wanted to share stories behind some of the Lego creations, or funny things that had happened to them, or things that were personally important to them. They all actually really enjoyed their tube of toothpaste the most, and showing what brand of toothpaste they used to all their fellow beavers. So this was one where the shared experience of going through and doing something seems to be more valuable to them necessarily than receiving content. So I know that now that schooling has started up again and they're getting a lot of content pushed to them that they've got to go through, I think it's good for us to pulse that in, but know that part of this is also the fun and the shared experience that they're getting with their fellow scouts, which is probably what they get the most out of, all told. Next slide, please, Gwen. So the key themes that we've learned overall, I think I've mentioned most of these. The kids really value the face time with their peers more than they do traditional program content. Our pack is mature enough to do badge work as independent projects at home. So what we did, if you look in the pictures here on this slide, one of our scouters, Kathleen Demarowski, had the foresight to print off some the badge sheets from the manual and make them into booklets, and we got these in just the day before they closed the school, so we were able to just distribute them under the wire to kids, and they really, really appreciated it because they can now go at home and work independently on some of their badges. And we've had 2 submissions presented in our meetings to the others, and I know we'll have some more. So that independence really went a long way with those kids. Jokes are a killer. Ask your kids to prepare some corny jokes beforehand. Our Cubs love this, and a good portion of our meeting is dedicated just to having a good laugh, which is helping us all out. Songs we found to be very difficult just because the audio lags. Getting everyone to sing at the same time is impossible because of the audio lag. So we've had to take a rest on songs. But collaborative games, again, we're thinking of designing some different games that can be achieved and are actually enhanced by the software. And so I'm sure we'll have some other options. And then the final thought I have is just as long as everyone is participating in the same activity, it's incredibly rewarding for the kids. So tomorrow night with our pack, we're having a just independent Lego build. We've done paper airplanes with the colony where we designed, or they all did a design and followed along with my instructions, but then they were independently allowed to color, and we shared what they all looked like and how far they could fly at the end. And as I mentioned before, the scavenger hunt last night. So the power of a community experience for them is probably the #1 thing that that I'd like to share. I think that's it for me, guys.
Thank you so much, Peter. Terry, would you like to unmic and share your experiences?
Sure. I think Peter took a lot of our stuff. He read my script beforehand. I'm just kidding. We have had pack meetings only at 4.5. We also were using Zoom. We did add all of our pack to Teams, but the hard thing about Teams, it's easy once you get into it. The harder thing is if you don't have an account, like you don't have an Office 365 account, to actually email out the meetings ahead of time is a little bit more challenging. So we reverted back to Zoom. The parents found it a lot easier, and with the upgraded security of the waiting rooms and the passwords that Pete already mentioned, we found it works very well and they like it. We are monitoring the security issues around it just in case anything changes. So I'm very lucky to have one scouter and a parent who work in tech. And so for the risk assessment piece, we're making sure that they're keeping their ear to the ground. And before we have any meetings, we're looking at all of that. But Gwen, did you steal any of my pictures? Oh, she's muted. She's going to show them. So we've had 2 pack meetings so far. The first one, like Peter mentioned, it was very, very much them getting to see each other and being so excited about seeing, all their friends and the scouters. Parents were excited with how, the kids were looking so forward to it. The biggest thing that they had the most fun with was the scavenger hunt. I thought that was probably the most hilarious thing. We did have a list of things to find. And then we kind of threw in some of our own. So same kind of thing, somebody find a sock or somebody find a brush. But then we said, okay, someone find a whistle from your rucksack or someone find your first aid kit. And we brought some scouting things in, someone get their necker, that kind of stuff if they didn't have it on. And what the kids thought was super fun. Gwen, you're on the first slide. If I think you probably know that, but oh, perfect. I think the bigger thing that they had fun with the scavenger hunt was we turned it over to them. So we let each kid pick something, and then they got to see all their friends run away and come back with whatever version that they chose. Now, normally it was something right beside them so they could win. And we told them it wasn't a winning thing. It was just for fun. But in our second meeting, we actually did first aid. And we had the Durham med vents come on. There was 2 of them that came online. And it was great because one was actually at home and he narrated about choking. He narrated about first aid for nosebleeds. And so the second person was actually at work. He works at I'm assuming it's either a place where they train first aid, or he was at the office for the med vents. And he actually had the CPR mannequins. And so he was able to show, the back blows and the abdominal thrusts and things like that. So we asked the kids to run and get stuffies and they could show us on their stuffed animals. Because I thought of doing it on people and then they were like, yeah, don't, because it's a bad idea, which makes sense now. So we had them practice it just for fun to get them up and doing something, because sitting and listening does take a lot. The really funny thing was they did have the mannequin and there was a skeleton in the background. So with nosebleeds, they were talking about the nose bleeding and they said it's really hard on a skeleton because they don't have a nose. So it kind of kept the kids' attention. Otherwise, it is true sitting there and just kind of listening to content for 40 minutes, even half an hour, it's too much for them. So what we agreed to with the MedVents, or what we discussed, was about 20 minutes max kind of material. It went to about 30, but that way, you know, they can do something with it, get up, move around, run around, something like that. So planning the time to be really kind of short of them to learn, like Peter said, is really important. Something that's super exciting for next week, we're going to have Soper Creek, the animal rescue, take us on a virtual tour, and Stephanie is going to, or someone on her volunteers or staff is going to actually take us around and show us what animals are currently there, and let the kids ask about, you know, what they're doing and things like that, which will be great. Again, it's going to be about half hour, 45 minutes for them to do the tour. So one of our scouters arranged that. And the MedVents had such a great time that they've offered to come back in the future again and cover some more content with us. So it'll be super fun. We're having a great time so far. And the parents are loving it. I'm receiving a lot of emails from parents, you know, thanking us for actually still engaging because their kids, you know, are stuck indoors. The one thing I did, though, was I actually emailed all the parents. I'm a contact scouter for PAC, and I'm also GC of my group. So I've emailed every parent in all sections just to touch base and say, you know, hey, how's it going? It was virtually the same email for most of them. And like Peter, we didn't get to print out the badge worksheets, but we did email them. So we just let them know, hey, there is stuff you can do. If you can't get in the meetings, that's okay. If you can, that's awesome. But to let them know they can reach out and touch base and still have conversations with us, even if, you know, they can't get online. So that was me. What's the organization that hosted the virtual tour? Soper Creek Animal Rescue is going to host it next week. The only thing that they have asked is that we provide a small donation if possible. We're in the area, so we usually do community service with them anyway. But because people can't come out anymore, they're having a really hard time with the materials to supply their animals. So there's donations anywhere from $5 and a lot higher. We don't have programming costs now, so we can budget for that. No problem, Karen. All right. Any questions for me other than that? Oh, one challenge we found since we're going through this. PAC or Colony and Troop, they don't have scouters that, you know, have experienced online yet, so they're trying to learn it. Anybody who's kind of in that boat, what I would recommend is exactly what Peter said. Your first meeting, just get on and try it out. Like, plan for conversation, plan for what did you guys do and what do you want to do, and leave it at that for the beginning, just to get used to the materials, because again, they're super excited to see all of the people. So it's something that, you know, you don't have to plan it to the T for your first one like you would a regular meeting. If we're doing a virtual tour of the facility, can I tape it and share it? Quite possible. I will talk to Stephanie and find out what she's doing. She was going to actually take us around with her. I'm going to assume she's doing it on her phone or tablet. And she'll be connected to the internet. So she's going to take us around with her live throughout the actual wildlife rescue. So she's not going to videotape it and send it to us. She's actually going to do it live with us, as far as I know. So it'll be pretty cool.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.
I'd like to introduce Deb Soanes from First Inniskillen. Deb?
I'm a scouter, so we've been running virtual meetings with the scouts. We've had 3 meetings now. I agree with Terry. The first meeting, we just got on and the kids had a chance to talk to each other, say what they've been doing, and then we also talked about what we want to do in future meetings. We are meeting on conference call because we live out in the country and a number of us have really poor internet service, and we don't have the bandwidth to be able to run videos. We have decided that we're going to try to do Zoom next week. We have purchased the $20 a month package because going that route, those that can't use video, well, they could still use audio, but if you don't even have the bandwidth to use audio, because I know later in the evening, 9 o'clock at night, I can't get audio either. But our meetings are early enough that I don't foresee a problem for myself. But with the $20 Zoom package, we will be able to have people that can phone in. So if they don't have internet access at all, they can access by telephone and be part of our group. That being said, that's where we're moving to. We have been just teleconferencing. We set out an agenda. We in Scouts, we've had a lot of things that we've had to deal with just in planning things we're doing, things we're going to do. So we gave the Scout our agenda for the past meeting. We talked about special Jotai. We have given the Scouts all the information so that they could participate in Jotai on the weekend. We had talked about it the previous weekend, sent out the information, gave them all the links that they needed, and then we had a follow-up to see who actually went onto the Jotai website at this meeting. And it turned out that none of the Scouts had. They had planned to, but the weather was nice on the weekend and they got outside and in their yards and they sort of forgot about it. The other thing that we're participating in right now is Scout Seeds. So we're spending time in the meetings to, promote the Scouts, how they can do Scout Seeds, and talking about, the second meeting, we just talked about what they had to do to get into Scout Seeds, and then we had a follow-up meeting. We've discovered that it takes about 8 days once you order the Scout Seeds to get them in. And then we are also planning on attending Poacher 2021 in England next summer. So we're not sure what's going to be happening that far down the road, but we have to plan still as if we're going. So we spend time talking about that at each of our meetings. We have to commit by the end of this month, so we're having to make decisions about who's going to be going or not. And then I prompt the Scouts each week about, remind them about the scouting at home that's available for them. So far, none of the Scouts have done any of the scouting at home, but when I brought it up this week, they said, oh yeah, I forgot about that again. So, even though they're not doing it, they want me to remind them every week because it may be just that they've forgotten about it and they want to be doing it. And then we take time at each meeting just to chat. So this past week, it was like, what's your favorite thing that you did this week? So then everyone had a chance to just, have a talk. And then, so each meeting we have, something that's just like, what did you do this week? What are you planning to do next week? And just a general talk. And then also the Scouts plan what we're going to do in our meetings. Oh, another thing that we've started doing at the beginning of each meeting is each week, 2 Scouts pick an outdoor activity skill. One of the ones that's like a talking one. And then they prepare the outdoor activity skill and present it to the other Scouts. So we have 2 outdoor activity skills that are covered off at each meeting. Now, in terms of feedback, I'm not really that keen on the teleconferencing because it's nice to be able to see faces and to see the other people that you're talking to. And it's also a little bit awkward knowing when it's your turn to speak. So basically I've turned into moderator, and so I call out each Scout when it's their turn to say something, and we just go through the list. So I asked for feedback at our meeting last night to find out how they like the teleconferences, because I kind of thought they were boring. And generally the kids have said they're okay. There's nothing wrong with the teleconferences. The only thing two things that came out that they didn't like is that we can't do activities together. I'm hoping that once we get onto Zoom, it'll be more conducive to doing activities. But on a teleconference, like you can't show the things that you found in your scavenger hunt. It just that hasn't worked, which has been okay with the Scouts because mostly we've been just doing planning type of stuff. The other thing is they miss going outside together and being outside. So I had suggested, well, if we're all on our phones, perhaps we could sit outside and talk to each other outside. But we'll maybe give that a try in the future. So I asked what they liked about the teleconferences, and they just said, they like being able to communicate with each other, to stay together, to connect with the troop, to be part of a group, because there's no other opportunities to be part of a group right now. Like, I don't have any young children, so I'm not certain how the schooling is happening online, but I presume that it's, the teacher talking to the students more so than being able to see all the students. The other thing that were brought up that they like is they like that they don't have to drive to go to the meeting or wait to be picked up after the meeting. One of the Scouts said it's nice that the meetings are shorter, and but generally they just like being able to chat and connect with the troop and be part of a group. So I asked them also what they thought we could do to make it better, and basically they said, oh, it's fine the way it is, we don't need to do anything to make it better. And I suggested that we try the video, and so they said, well, yeah, that they thought they'd like that. And then the other thing that was brought up was that they don't want to just have like a 1-hour meeting one night a week. They would like to have a chat stream, so that they could go on, start a conversation. If someone else is on the computer, they can reply back. And so one chat stream, Discord, was suggested to me. I haven't looked into it yet. I'm going to follow up on it to find out if we can form a group where just the Scouts and Scouters are able to be in there. I was thinking about the 2-Scouter rule, and I thought you may only have one Scouter online at a time, but if the chat is all visible at any time, then other Scouters can see that. Are you saying no, or are you saying yay, Gwen? No?
No, I'm just actually going to go into that in our security talks. No, we will always need to have 2 Scouters in whatever medium we're using.
Okay. Okay, so that's what I have. Does anyone have any other questions?
We can ask some additional questions at the end as well when we open up the full mic, Deb, as well. I'm just going to do a little summary on how we are using Teams, Scouts Canada as in our employees, as well as our CK3. And a lot of our scouting teams are actually using Teams to do a lot of our normal chats that we would normally have face-to-face. It's a great tool that we can actually just sit down and even converse throughout the day. Right now, we're totally missing that social aspect of our scouting experience. We have chats in the mornings where we just take 15 minutes of our day and we talk about what's happening, is whether or not it's the latest television show that's going on, or what's happening with our kids, or so forth. It's something that we've been using just to have our regular social interaction as well. Kate and I sit and have our little chats every day about how we're planning, and Jeff, and how our planning sessions are going, what we're planning on doing. And it's just nice to have the video. I hate video. It's one of the things that I never wanted to do when I started using online conferencing tools. I've always used just audio only, but this video, now that I'm not seeing everybody on a regular basis, has definitely brightened my world a little bit as well. And I've been thankful that I've been able to jump on in some of these great great sessions with the youth as well. So it is a tool that we are using all the way around. This is our first virtual Scouters Club meeting. We are going to be scheduling these throughout every week and hopefully getting more and more people on board. So it's something that we can actually see that we're going to maybe even use post-COVID in certain situations. I think it really enhances our entire communication possibilities as well. I skipped past these ones here. I wanted to go through some safety and security considerations with us. What Deb was mentioning was the 2-scouter rule. We definitely need to take into consideration the 2-scouter rule when we're doing anything, whether it be a video call, email, a telephone conversation. We have to have the 2-scouters in place at all times. It is for the protection of our youth. It is for the protection of our scouters. It is just something that we need to follow at all times. What a lot of people have already discussed, the common things when using our communication tools. We do suggest highly, and I'm glad Zoom has actually added as a default now, that you include a waiting room or password for all of your meetings that you do set up. This way you can control who has access to your meetings and who is coming in and who is not coming into those meetings. We ask that you do not share these links to the meetings on an open public communication channel, such as an open Facebook page. Some of our pages are open to the public, while some of them are private. If you set the link to an open communications page, you're giving that link to anybody who could have access to your meeting, and we wouldn't want anybody coming in that isn't supposed to be there. So please try not to post these on public Facebook and public social media accounts. There is a lot of helpful tips on cybertip.ca for best practices on internet safety. We do know that with the amount of youth that are coming online during this time, that there is also the other side of it, where we do have our youth vulnerable to those who have bad intentions. So the cybertip.ca for best practices on internet safety is a wonderful place to go to for tips about how you can deal with cyber safety for our youth. On Scouts Canada webpage, we have information on cyber safety and social media safety. And at this time, we always want to remember that during this time, vulnerable youth, vulnerable people have issues with mental health and need some additional help. The Kids Help Phone is there for the kids at all times. They're offering 24/7 counseling for youth in need. This is a different time for all of us, and we always need to take that into consideration. On the safety side, those are the key aspects. We had mentioned that Zoom has been vulnerable in the past to certain cyber hackers into those meetings. They are doing upgrades on a regular basis. They've actually halted development on all other functionalities until all of their security issues are patched, and they're releasing patches on a regular basis. If you do include those passwords and waiting rooms, they are much more secure than a regular just open line. So it's just something to remember. On that note, I am going to open up the line to any additional questions, experiences. What we'd like to do is from this meeting is to form a best practices basically and send it out to all of our Scouters who couldn't attend this session. If you do have any questions, please speak at one time. We'll try to get everybody in here at one time and answer as many questions as we can. I'm going to ask our panelists that they can unmic their microphones as well so that they can answer any questions. Jeff, if you can unmic your phone as well, that would be great. So you can answer any questions, and Kate as well, please.
Thanks, Glenn, and thanks, Peter, Deb, and Terry. That was great. There was one comment I'm wanting to expand on from the chat box. Heather, you mentioned that you've been connecting using Facebook video. Would you be willing to share with the group what you've been doing using that and how it's been going? Maybe we still have Heather, maybe we don't. Okay, has anybody else been using Facebook as their primary means of staying connected?
Hi, it's Terry. We try to, talk to our kids and everyone through Facebook as much as possible, but I find a lot of parents for our personal group don't interact that much on there. There's some that are very active and there's others that don't go on at all. So we have, talked to some through Facebook chat, like Facebook Messenger video, but we found with our group, it doesn't work very well.
Okay. There are safer, more secure platforms that have more accommodating features for the group discussion as well, like we've discovered with Zoom. So I just wondered if that was an experience you were having. There's no questions in the chat right now, Gwen, that didn't get answered as we were moving along. So it is now an open floor.
Kate, do you want me to talk about just like our little thing that we're doing with Facebook?
Yes, please, June.
Okay. We haven't started actually having the virtual meetings yet. We wanted to have this meeting first to get some ideas. So we're planning to hopefully have them in place for next week. But what we've been doing since this happened is on our Facebook, which our parents are very active and we help them throughout the year to become active. So it might not work for everybody, but we've been putting up like an activity and a challenge on every week. So we had a photo scavenger hunt outside when they were doing a neighborhood walk with just their family, where they just took photos, of a red truck, of a mailbox, and then they posted them up. And they had a bake-off. They had build an indoor tent or fort and sleep in it overnight. And so we're just getting like kind of pictures of the kids as they're as they do their task, and all the people can like it and make comments. And I mean, we're getting about 3 or 4 per day per challenge. So it's kind of interesting to see the kids kind of keep up and do their thing.
And that's a group, private group, June, right? Where you've managed
right.
Who's in there? Yeah, okay. Has anybody else had done a virtual meeting and would like to share their experience in the program that they offered, or how they facilitated the meeting, or perhaps what platform they used?
Kate, Craig here. I'll throw some ideas out there.
Yeah, great.
We've had 4 meetings now over the last few weeks. The first meeting that we had was with the troop leadership. So I wanted, very important, to bring in the troop leader and the patrol leaders and find out what they wanted to do with this platform. And we took a number of ideas from that. The scouters then met and talked about a program together. So our first meeting, actually, we ran bingo, which the kids had a lot of fun with. And found it all online. I found a bingo number generator online, and with Zoom you can share your screen. So I shared the number generator, so they all saw that on their screen. The card generator was an Excel file, found that, generated all the cards, and we sent the cards to the kids through email, and they printed out the cards that were assigned to them, and we played bingo. So that's one of the things I like about Zoom. You can share your screen. And also the other thing with Zoom, you can bring the person that is speaking up to the forefront. So myself as a moderator, whoever's speaking, I'll bring them up to the front for everybody can, they're showcased. The other thing with Zoom I've been liking is there's 2 hosts. And what that makes it easier, one of the hosts can worry about taking care of muting mics and unmuting and the other person can run the program. So it's very important to have a couple people doing it. Out of the first meeting, one of the things that we really wanted the kids to do was have something to do at home. So we sent them home with some challenges for the week. Scouts love to whittle, so it was the soap and or old candle knife carving. And they sent us the pictures as they got them done. We put them on the Facebook site, but then we also presented those carvings at our first meeting back once they were doing it. And we're going to carry on with that over the next couple of weeks as they're getting them done. The other thing I found important was to run the meeting like you're in the church or the gym. So the first thing I do is share the screen, found a nice fluttering Canadian flag, and we do opening to the flag, do our promise, and in our group we always have a jar that we pick from what other thing that we're going to do that night. Could be your Vespers, could be your promise. So the kids pick from the jar from that, and then we do that at the end of the meeting also. So we're trying to run the meeting like we would be in the gym. We are doing some physical games right after opening. We have Scout of Virginia run a physical game, and a lot of that they could be just standing behind their camera doing jumping jacks if that's what we're doing, or push-ups, or so we get them to do some physical stuff before we get them to sit down again. And that's about what we've been doing.
That's great. Thank you. How long are you running your meetings, Craig? Have you kept them to around that same half-hour 40 mark that we heard earlier, or are you able to go a little bit longer with your troop?
We're running our meetings hour and a half to almost 2 hours. Okay.
Wow. Great.
Yep. But again, it's very important to keep the meeting structured. And if you are starting to lose them, we do close the meeting down. Well, that was the other neat thing we've been doing. I leave Zoom running. So afterwards, the kids can stay connected and do what they want after the meeting.
Hi, Kate, it's Terry and everyone. It's just to clarify, our meetings go the full hour with our Cub Pack. But the actual programming piece of, like, if they're learning something, we max that at 20 minutes, half hour, because they want to spend all the time chatting to each other.
I love that.
And this is Deb. We have our meetings are planned for about an hour, and the first two we went over by 10 or 15 minutes. The third, we stuck to the hour.
That's excellent. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions or would like to share some of the items that they're doing? Anita, are you on the line? Anita Simmons? I see her initials.
Now?
Nope.
Okay.
Anita,
Can you hear?
do you want to share
Yeah,
what your colony is doing?
Yeah, I just sent out challenges. We haven't done a virtual meeting yet, but I sent out the challenges, and what we asked the kids to do musical beaver, and they've been sending me little videos of their dancing and singing, and one of my North Star Tales played the piano and sang a song. It was so cute. So it's really neat. So what we're going to do, we're going to have next week, Big Brown Beaver is going to come. We're going to try it. And he's going to give the kids the next challenge for the next week. So we'll see how that goes.
Thanks. I know there's a lot of our groups using email and challenges, and that's just as important as doing our virtual meetings. There's all ways that we can communicate to our youth and to our parents at this time. The email challenges are just as nice as the virtual meetings. With the virtual meetings, you get that additional little touch where the kids actually get to see each other. I don't know about your kids. My kids are doing online school, but it's not an interactive online school. So this is really their only chance to talk with friends outside of their other core friends that they're video gaming with on a regular basis and so forth. So this is really the only chance that they're actually getting to see some of their Cub and Colony friends and troop friends and venture friends. It's something that's just a value added that we're giving to our youth and to our parents. As I think someone mentioned, Terry, we're getting lots of thank yous from our families saying thank you for providing this extra, really the service that we're providing at this time. And I really, at this time, I just want to say thank you to all of those who are actually doing programming still. You guys are putting the extra effort out, and the value that we're giving to our families at this time to take their kids' minds off of what's going on and the lack that they're not getting right now is so important. We're providing such a value to our scouting community right now and our community as a whole. So a very big thank you from the CK3 team. I'm just going to end with that little piece there on my little spiel. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to say that we can address, or that anybody of our panel members can address?
Gwen, it's Kate. I also just wanted to share that there are more resources being put into developing scouting at home challenges and support for virtual meetings and how the Canadian Path can be utilized virtually in our new world. And so you will continue to see those coming out. We have been sharing more on our Facebook page through your group support scouter. All of the scouting at home emails are being sent directly to every single member. However, we know they are sometimes delivered to the junk mail. So have your section scouters, have your group commissioners constantly be checking out the scouts.ca website. Everything's right there on the home page to find scouting at home. And we are, you can expect some additional resources that have been developed specifically for this new environment coming down the pipe as well. So, we're adapting as quickly as we can, and there's more to come for sure to support you with these efforts.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point to stress. The White Pine Council Facebook page, we're really sharing information that is coming from the Scouting on Home program. That is one of the channels that we'd love for you guys to share with your groups. It does have some great tasks on there every day. So if you would like to use that, we definitely share those pages. We're using that as a major communication tool now. And Jeff, are you on there for a second?
Yes, I am, Gwen.
Do you want to add anything during this phone call?
I just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time out of their schedules to be on this call, and for you, Gwen and Kate, to organize this and get this fabulous panel out, and encourage all the scouters out in White Pine community to reach out to their section youth and engage with them through this web type media. It's really starting to pick up ground.
Thank you, Jeff.
And this is our first time doing it, and it's really important to us that these bring value to you. So we are asking for feedback. I'm just going to put the link to the quick, I think it's 7 questions, really quick survey in the chat box. I'll also email it out tomorrow with the information for our next session and the link to the recording tonight. But we really do want to know, did this serve your needs? What did you like about it? What should we do again in the next one? Those types of things. So we appreciate you filling in the feedback survey as well.
I think, and just to add to Kate's message there, just one more thing regarding these virtual sections. If you have anything that you would like us to cover, any topics that you'd like us to discuss, please share that with us as well. We're looking for additional meeting ideas. We'd love some additional panelists to come online. Kate and I don't want to do all the talking. So if you have some ideas and would like to share with our scouting community, please let us know and we will book a session for you as well.
And Terry, yes, of course, you can always add one more thing, even 2 if you have it.
Not 2. The only thing I was going to mention is one thing that worked well for us too was linking. The Whitetails were super, super excited to come to a PAC meeting. So even if one of your sections isn't meeting, don't be hesitant to open it up to kind of the cross-linking between Howlers and Whitetails.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So on that note, I just want to thank our panelists, Peter, Deb, and Terry. We were supposed to have one more, Candace from First Enniskillen with her colony. Unfortunately, her cable line got cut this week and hasn't had internet for 2 days now. So she was unfortunately had to back out at the last minute. But thank you very much, Kate. Thank you for all the organization that you've done on getting this done today. And we will hope to see you next time out. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Gwen.
good evening.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.